two prospectors walked into San Francisco with a leather pouch. What they showed the city's richest men would trigger one of the most elaborate cons in American history. But before we get to what they actually had in that pouch, we need to rewind to 1872. The American frontier was hungry for gold, hungry for wealth, hungry for any story that promised to turn nothing into everything. That hunger was about to be weaponized. Two men named Philip Arnold and John Slack weren't minors. They were con artists with a single, audacious idea: create a fake diamond field so convincing that San Francisco's wealthiest industrialists would bid against each other to own it. Their target: men worth millions who thought they were too smart to be fooled. Now, you might think diamonds just lying in American soil would have raised red flags immediately. And you'd be right to think that. But here's where psychology enters the equation. These tycoons didn't want skepticism, they wanted possibility. And Arnold and Slack understood that desire perfectly. In May 1872, Arnold and Slack approached a banker named William Ralston. They showed him samples: diamonds, rubies, sapphires, scattered across a remote location they claimed to have discovered in Wyoming territory. They wouldn't reveal the exact location. That secrecy, that was the hook. Ralston was one of California's most powerful men. He'd built an empire. But empires breed paranoia, the fear that someone else will find the next fortune while you're sleeping. Arnold and Slack knew this. They planted doubt about whether they'd even come to the right person. So Ralston did what any desperate millionaire would do. He hired a mining engineer named Henry Janin to verify the claim. Janin was respected, credentialed, skeptical by trade. This should have been the moment the con collapsed. It wasn't. Here's what Janin didn't know. Arnold and Slack had already salted the field. They traveled to the site beforehand and literally planted diamonds and rubies into the ground. When Janin arrived and dug, he found exactly what they wanted him to find. His report: glowing, absolutely glowing. Now the con entered its acceleration phase. Janin's credibility transformed rumor into certainty. Within weeks, San Francisco's elite weren't just interested, they were panicked. A diamond field on American soil, that changed everything. That meant wealth wouldn't have to come from Africa or Brazil anymore. Ralston formed a syndicate. He brought in other magnates, each one terrified of being left out. The asking price: $8 million, an almost incomprehensible sum in 1872. That's roughly $200 million in today's money, for a hole in the ground that didn't contain a single real gem. But here's where the machinery of fraud starts to grind against itself. You can hide a con from one engineer. You can even hide it from a banker. But you can't hide it from multiple investors all sending their own people to verify the claim. Cracks were inevitable. A geologist named Clarence King arrived at the field with his own team. King was thorough, obsessively so. He didn't just dig where Arnold and Slack suggested. He dug everywhere. And that's when he found something Arnold and Slack hadn't anticipated. The salting was sloppy. The gems weren't distributed naturally. In November 1872, King published his findings. The field was a hoax, not a partial hoax, a complete, deliberate fabrication. The gems were real, but they'd been planted by human hands. The report was devastating, methodical, and irrefutable. What happened next wasn't a quiet retreat. It was a public humiliation. Ralston and his syndicate had been played. The city's most powerful men had been outsmarted by two drifters with a leather pouch and an understanding of human greed. The financial impact was severe: millions lost, reputations shattered. Arnold and Slack fled. Slack disappeared entirely. Arnold made it to Kentucky before federal marshals caught up. He was convicted, served time, and eventually died in relative obscurity. Justice, yes, but the damage was already done. Now here's what makes the diamond hoax a masterclass in fraud psychology. It succeeded not because the con was technically brilliant. It succeeded because it told the victims exactly what they wanted to hear. They didn't want skepticism. They wanted permission to believe. The same pattern repeats in modern scams. Whether it's crypto schemes, real estate deals, or penny stocks, the mechanism is identical. Find someone with money and fear. Show them a shortcut. Make verification seem credible. Then get out before the machinery of due diligence catches up. The diamond hoax didn't spark a gold rush. It sparked something more dangerous. A reminder that intelligence and wealth offer no immunity to deception. The smartest people in the room are often the easiest targets because they're convinced they can't be fooled. That's the real lesson of 1872. Not that two con men outsmarted millionaires, but that desperation, disguised as opportunity, is the most effective weapon in any fraudster's arsenal. And it still works today. Subscribe so you don't miss the next scheme that fooled the smartest people in the room.